The problem is they don't want to be controlled.
You know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail.
All right, Ripple XRP holders, welcome back to the channel. So with XRP sitting at 52 cents right now, some massive developments taking place, not only in the space of crypto, but with Ripple as a company making massive moves over in Europe. In this video, I'm going to unpackage what is the Triffin Plan and the Keynes Plan from a massive conference with the IMF and with Ripple, and also the Bancor, a supranational currency, with XRP being labeled as a supranational currency in an official document discussing digital fiat currencies and what is being planned relating to cryptocurrencies, Ripple, XRP, and the IMF. So comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, comment 777 if you're feeling bullish. And if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, you know what to do. Confirm it by tapping that like button, subscribing to the channel, and let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back. So XRP is sitting at 52 cents with a $27 billion market cap. Bitcoin sitting just above $26,000. Still above $1 trillion. Not too much happening in the markets. When we look at the chart for XRP, if you watched my video yesterday, I talked about where we could be on this chart in comparison to the past of 2016. Right around this period right here. So you guys are going to want to check that video out after this. But what I'm going to focus on in this video is what's taking place over in Europe and how that could affect XRP. So again, this is not financial advice, not investing advice. This is education, entertainment purposes only, but you are going to love this video. We're unpackaging the nitty-gritty details, and we look at Ripple making big moves. The on-demand liquidity is now live in India within the $50 billion remittance arena. So for those of you wondering, what is ODL or on-demand liquidity? You see that word thrown out there a lot. It was introduced by RippleNet back in 2018, and it's a liquidity management solution designed to address the challenges associated with low value, high volume, cross-border payments. So ODL employs XRP as a bridge currency, sourcing liquidity on demand, enabling real-time fund transfers without the need for pre-funding in the destination market overseas between banks. So on-demand liquidity serves as a wide range of entities, from payment service providers to fintech companies involved in business-to-business transactions. So even companies that need to transfer internal treasury payments to accounts in foreign countries can benefit from the service. And so this is what Ripple keeps throwing out there. Brad Garlinghouse keeps saying, and RippleNet's network is massive. It's super extensive, supporting more than 55 countries and pairing with over 120 fiat currencies. And so the reason why this matters over in India is because of, number one, high remittance volume. India is one of the largest remittance receiving countries in the world, and their population is massive. You know, it's larger than the United States. It's up there with China, like what, 1.2 or 1.4 billion. And so within the fintech boom, India is witnessing a revolution in financial technology. And on-demand liquidity would provide these companies that are positioning themselves at the forefront with an efficient way to handle their cross-border transactions and payments. And then within the regulatory landscape, as we see, cryptocurrencies evolve in India, we'll see on-demand liquidity expand over there. And within the economic impact, cross-border transactions becoming more efficient, ODL has the potential to positively impact trade and economic relations between India and other countries in the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So in my video yesterday where I talked about crypto being done in the United States if Biden is reelected, for different tax reasons, for brokers, for dealers, clearinghouses, all these crypto companies are going to be moving overseas with them wanting to tax Bitcoin miners a lot more. And it has been reported that several Indian banks are utilizing the cross-border payments network. Specifically, Axis Bank, the country's largest private sector bank, has partnered with Ripple. Additionally, Yes Bank, a similarly vital private sector bank, has also utilized Ripple's technology. So as Ripple continues to expand overseas in India, we will keep you posted on that. But the IMF put out a new document for 2023 and positions XRP as the solution to enhance cross-border payments. So this document was prepared in March of this year by 4 industry specialists, including the IMF's financial counselor, Tobias Adrian. The IMF FinTech note titled "Trust Bridges and Money Flows" highlights the challenges faced with cross-border payments and possible solutions for addressing them. And one thing that's very interesting is in this document by the IMF, is on page 26. They say that three models arise: a private settlement asset and marketplace such as Ripple's XRP, an open source marketplace such as Stellar's Foundation, or more recently DeFi networks, and a marketplace and settlement asset based on unbacked crypto assets such as Strike, which leverages Bitcoin, and the Lightning Network. However, a public solution potentially run by a regulated private entity has key advantages such as, number one, tackling the coordination problem around centralizing participation and liquidity provision. Number two, offering clear and trusted governance and operational stability. And number three, providing full compatibility with financial integrity standards. And in their glossary right here, you can see XRP, crypto asset by Ripple. You can see USDC coin, real-time gross settlements. Then you also see central banking digital currencies, decentralized finance. So the fact that they're not really mentioning anything else other than XRP, Stellar Lumens, and then you see Bitcoin is a massive sign for what's going to happen. So like this video if you hold XRP or if you hold Bitcoin, or comment your favorite digital asset below. Right here on the Digital Euro Association, on their blog, the Digital Euro Association partners with Ripple. This is a big deal, guys. This is not just some conspiracy theory here. These are on official websites. And the Digital Euro Association saying they're delighted to announce their partnership with Ripple. This was all the way back in 2022. And we are thrilled that due to the partnership with Ripple, we can extend the technological expertise of the Digital Euro Association and more CBDC projects worldwide reach advanced stages. As they reach advanced stages, technological design of a CBDC will play a key role for policymakers in the near future, while previous years focused primarily on research. Now they're focused on implementation. And so you're still early. This is what the chairman of the Digital Euro Association said about Ripple.
You're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
It will not be decided until October 23. We have to move ahead. I don't want Europe to be dependent on an unfriendly country's currency. You know, the Chinese currency, the Russian currency, the whatever. For instance, in the Netherlands, they're quite happy to see the e-euro coming. Ask a young German, he'll say, yeah, fine. I don't want Meta, Google, or Amazon to suddenly come up with a currency that will take over the sovereignty of Europe.
The problem is they don't want to be controlled.
You know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. Digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control, you're right.
So they are planning something absolutely massive. Now, in that conference, there was a mention of the Triffin Plan and the Keynes Plan, where they were saying we can imagine a new expanded role for the IMF by adapting and modernizing some old ideas of what's called the Keynes Plan, the Triffin Plan. If you look up the definition of the Keynes Plan, it's an alternative set of proposals for international monetary institutions proposed by John Keynes from 1883 to 1946 at the Bretton Woods negotiations on post-war monetary arrangements in 1944. And the Keynes Plan would have involved the creation of an international monetary unit, the Bancor. The plan was rejected and the IMF was set up instead on lines proposed by the United States. That means that the Bancor was part of the Keynes Plan, and the Bancor was a supranational currency that John Keynes and E.F. Shoemaker conceptualized in the years between 1940 and 1942, in which the United Kingdom proposed to introduce after World War II. The name was inspired by the French bank or bank gold. That newly created supranational currency would then be used in international trade as a unit of account within a multilateral clearing system, the International Clearing Union, which would also have to be founded. Now, a supranational currency was part of the Keynes Plan, and here's something additional that's also very interesting. XRP was labeled as a supranational currency in an official document discussing digital fiat currencies. So what is the Keynes Triffin Plan and why does this matter? Well, it's a radical solution to create a new international organization, an international central bank, to which would be handed over the foreign exchange reserves of all countries. Now, this is the Keynes Triffin Plan on international liquidity. And the major obstacle to an implementation of this would be the reluctance of countries to give up their sovereignty over reserves. But it can be considered as a proposal to set the ball rolling for future negotiations. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen, because for countries to give up their sovereignty of that, it's going to be a tough battle. But the really interesting part of her keynote was in how she envisions the increasing role for central banks in the future. And she provides an example with a pizza. So, hopefully, if you're going to buy a pizza, it's going to be warm when you buy it. At the click of a button, your bank transfers funds to digital currency held at the central bank. In turn, the central bank immediately forwards it to the supermarket's bank, which would credit the supermarket's account. All of that in a split second, all nearly for free at any time. So do you see what just happened? The central bank is now the trusted intermediary. Now this is big because, you have smaller regional banks, then you have commercial banks, and then you have central banks. Not only would it cut out regional banks, the smaller local banks that you've never heard of in other states or other countries, but it could also cut out the commercial banks and give the power and the control to central banks like the Federal Reserve. And so what LaGuardia is conveying is that the central bank is the trusted intermediary, not your personal bank. This would then hold true for domestic as well as international payments, since the example she provided us with was a domestic purchase of a pizza. All payments would thus be routed through the central banks where the money is held. And so this is what the Bank for International Settlements is saying. They have the technology to do this, and this is what they're planning. She also mentioned how commercial banks may not provide the required safety because of their profit-driven nature.
IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future?
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe
the
I
IMF.
should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to happen, okay, under the current legal framework, some country would have to use a crypto asset as its currency.
Which goes to the next question that was on the list, actually. Will central banks issue digital currency become a reality in the next few years?
Well, again, there's a lot of work being done by a number of central banks in different, regions of the world. I think generally speaking, many of these central banks are coming to the conclusion that they don't see the benefits right now of doing it, but they're very seriously considering the use case. And I think as work proceeds, they maybe become the possibility may increase. Particularly the Bank of Canada with its Project Jasper experiment has realized that a central bank digital currency on its own may not offer benefits now, but when combined with other things like the security settlement system, the use cases begin to emerge. So let's keep an open mind.
We have a few more minutes. We'll take a couple of these questions. I'll just add to the answer on this one real quickly. It strikes me that there's a little bit, there's a slightly controversial statement about this. Don't central banks already issue digital versions of their fiat? And what I mean by that is when I log into my bank account and I see a number representing my deposits, that's a digital representation. They don't actually have the dollars behind that for everything we have. Moreover, and I think I have some Singapore dollars in my pocket, there's a serial number on that Singapore dollar that, okay, it is 100, but wait, in the US, there's serial numbers on here. Yes, there's a serial number on here, 3AX561167. It's in some ways, what's the difference between having a serial number and having a digitization of the Singapore dollar? So I think it's not a very big leap. So the question I think was in the next few years, I think certainly you're going to see central governments that have digital currency within the next few years. My prediction. How does Ripple work with central banks? So actually, Ripple, I think, has been a little bit of a contrarian in the crypto world because Ripple was very early to kind of say, look, if you want to enable these technologies, you have to work with government regulators, including central banks. I probably spend 20% of my time flying around the world, meeting with central banks, meeting with local regulatory agencies in order to provide that clarity. When we sign up a bank, whether it's a bank in Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Thailand, Philippines, they aren't going live until their regulator is saying, yes, either implicitly or explicitly getting approval to go live. And so that means that myself, as well as others on the Ripple team, are meeting with central banks to make sure they have clarity about how our technologies work. And to Ross's point, once these regulators understand that Ripple transactions are not circumventing regulatory frameworks, meaning they are KYC'd, they are monitored for money laundering, OFAC compliance, terrorist financing, these things, they get very comfortable very quickly.
So this would most likely mean that something is being planned that we're not aware of relating to cryptocurrencies and the IMF. And Brad Garlinghouse the CEO of Ripple, is at the center of those meetings. And so the IMF are the ones that have been organizing meetings between Ripple and the central banks. So how did Brad even get into those meetings first and foremost? Who's setting that up and who's putting in a good word? How are they able to do this? So who do you call to gather a bunch of central banks when you are a private payments company like Ripple? Well, it's believed that the IMF organized this meeting for Ripple with the intent of trying to push Ripple's technology to central banks. And what do we find? The first presentation of the meeting was by the IMF. Now, what is ultimately going on here as we unpackage this between Ripple, the IMF, and all these central banks? So the IMF has realized that the potential for the technology that Ripple holds, that they are actively trying to make central banks and other financial institutions adopt the technology so the IMF can be the middleman. And so the IMF realizes that the role they see for themselves could become true by utilizing the technology that Ripple offers versus trying to create it themselves. And so a main role for the IMF is to be able to achieve stable exchange rates between currencies. And they could tie the SDR to XRP for settlement. And so XRP, could it be the Bancor? Now, they are trying to create this relationship with the IMF in the center of all central banks, where all payments are being routed through these central banks, likely for safety as well as for tracking transactions. And so do you believe, with a new financial system on the horizon leading to a digital economy and digital currencies being implemented, where the IMF, central banks, and Ripple's technology with XRP, will it be at the center? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Either way, what we're doing to prepare is backing up our truck all the way to the banks, grabbing the bags, packing them and stacking them, leaving no bags left behind, because the spending power of the dollar continues to go down in value. That's the truth. Blockchain technology, the bull runners, together, we're all going camping on the beaches of the moon. I will see you on the next video. I will see you on bullrunners.com. If you want to learn our #1 way to earn passive income with crypto, check that out. As always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.